Greetings. Greetings. Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Today is July 22nd, 2026. This is episode 216 of Conversation with Tony Mobley. 5 years of conversations. This conversation uses the TV broadcast software Mimo Live, and we also use Zoom. You can watch Conversation with Tony Mobley at conversationwithtonymobley.com. We have an interactive chat called Mukana. There you can ask your questions. Those questions can be voted up or down. If you choose not to use Mukana, well, you can go ahead and ask your questions in the YouTube chat. And we're going to get started right away. My guest today is the fabulous Liberty White. She is an AI architect who helps organizations move from AI experimentation to operational adoption. And we want to say, welcome, Liberty White.
Hey Tony. Hey, Conversations with Tony Mobley crew. It's been a minute, almost a year, right, Tony?
Yes, it would be exactly a year in the middle of August. And so we're happy to have you on today. And we're going to get started right away with, for those who don't know who you are, just give us a brief bio of who Liberty White is.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me again. And 5 years is most startups, most businesses don't last 5 years. So being around for 5 years is a huge feat. So shout out to you and the Conversations with Tony Mobley team on the back end. I am Liberty White. I am an AI architect. Many of you have seen the evolution of just over tech and content production, having been a part of the office hours community. And it was actually in the office hours community that I really started diving in more into AI. And over the past 3 years, have trained hundreds of people, thousands if you want to include all of the tutorials and trainings that we do through social media and online. And I'm happy to be here. There's so much happening in this space, and to share this with the Conversations with Tony Mobley community. We're going to have fun tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to get started with, what is an AI architect?
Yeah, an AI architect. It's a really fancy name for really just someone who comes into an organization and helps them figure out their workflows and how to optimize that to get business results. So, in plain English, that is things like working with the marketing team and they're looking to optimize their email management, or they have got campaigns coming up wanting to ensure that they're using the right workflows to ensure that their team is being efficient, they're saving time. They're also making sure that their brand consistency is taking place across all departments, campaigns. So we'll come in, we'll do an audit and ensure understanding, because before you can fix anything, you've got to really understand it. So just understanding how they work, because every team, every organization works differently. And once we get through that, finding the friction points, one of the things that AI does really well, whether it be you're using Claude or Gemini, whatever your infrastructure is finding, helping with those repetitive tasks. And when I say AI, I should really be speaking around the agents, so that you're able to plug them in. They don't need to be everywhere. That's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they just want to AIify everything. No, look for the places where you can help with making sure, like, this is a task we do, and we'll do a demo a little bit later, but there's this task or there's some friction in this area. How can we ensure that we find a solution, find a workflow that will help to help to maintain the human intelligence, and really letting the human, the person behind the workflow, so that they can be more efficient. Really, it's around efficiencies and business outcomes. That was a really long answer for the fancy word.
Well, I was thinking as you were talking about that, and I was hearing, um, an AI fixer. That's what
That's,
that's
you
what
know
I was.
what? Yeah, that it really is because we come in and it's the helping to fix the bottlenecks. And you're right, because where there are bottlenecks, where there's friction, those are problems. So we come in and help to fix that. I like that. The
That's
fixer, the
fantastic.
AI fixer.
Okay, so how do you help? No, let's do it. Let's do a different question. How has Fable impacted what you do?
Oh, yes. So, for those of you who some way, somehow did not hear about Claude Fable, which is one of their latest, Claude, which is by Anthropic, one of their latest models. So, Fables, what it's really good at, I should say, is judgment and complex ideas, complex scenarios that you need to work through. So, after coming back from Canada, I know we'll probably dive into that. It was really looking at the business and the infrastructure. And since we are in Q3, many organizations either just finished their planning, their year end might have been June 30th, so they've already put together their plan for the next year. But many people are looking at now for Q3, planning out for Q4 and the beginning of next year. So for our community, we use Fable to ensure, okay, what does that strategic plan look like? Revamping certain things, in doing, looking at the past, what is it, the past 6 months, what things weren't working, and really going in to look at business operations, sales. We're in a business is designed to make money. So where are the holes and the gaps that we can work through and we can fix? And so because the tokens for Fable are expensive, if you're not one of those enterprises or Fortune 500s, then we made sure that we use Fable for the strategy, not to execute, because there are other models that you can use to execute. So that was it, making sure that others in our community, if you're a solopreneur, if you're a small business, it's the equivalent of having I think I shared with on my newsletter last week. It's like the equivalent of having like if you had a chance to be at dinner and Warren Buffett was sitting at the table next to you, or maybe it was Oprah, or maybe George Lucas, and they're at the table next to you, and they lean over and they say, "Hey, tell me about what you do, and I've got an hour. Let's talk." That's the equivalent of having that access with Fable, that you get this expertise to help you think through things. So we encourage our community, if you and it at that time on the pro plan and up, you got access to those credits up to 50% of your limits each week. So in short, that was business strategy, sales strategy, and fix just working on overall operations.
So I paid for my $20 plan today,
Okay.
and I also accepted the
Dollar
$100
credits.
worth of credit.
Okay.
So what does that mean? Because I
So
don't know.
okay, okay. Well, that's awesome that they that even in paying for it now that you've got those credits. I would still be mindful because I've seen people blow through their tokens really quickly. So what that means is your ability to use Fable. They've given you basically $100 complimentary to do whatever you want using that model. Once you get past that $100, now you're getting charged full price for whatever you use. And so if you are looking for a recommendation, the things that I always like to say, the things that you have a challenge like thinking through, like you need a thinking partner to think through it. Those are great scenarios. I know you've probably seen videos on YouTube or on your LinkedIn or even on your Facebook feed where people are like, I built an entire app and I built an entire website. And those things are good if it makes sense for your business, for your nonprofit, for if you're an educator, helping you think through maybe some course creation or thinking through those things. But while that those activities are exciting and it's like, oh, look how cool this is. Because I deal with so many founders or leaders that are running organizations or running companies, I'm like, spend that time and that energy on getting ahead in your business, whether it means that it's going to help you to save time or it's going to help you to make more money.
So, a casual user who is paying for the $20 plan,
Yeah.
should they embrace the $100 worth of tokens?
Definitely, because you technically, if you think about it, it's like you've already paid for it. They're giving it to you. So that I again just being mindful of your token usage, because once you get past that, then just know, well, a couple of things. Well, the way to solve that actually is to, if you want, going into your back end and making sure like once you run out of those credits, that it does not go any further. And that's one way that you can mitigate that. Otherwise, then just be prepared that you're going to get charged per usage.
Do you think that Fable is addictive?
Yes. Well, it's addictive, but it's just another model. So it's like the shiny new tool. So that's what makes it addictive. I have seen some folks, there was someone I was conversing with back and forth on threads, and they found Fable to, once it got to a certain point, it was just giving them somewhat like repetitive, or I think that what they said was it was just very agreeable to what they whatever they were prompting or putting inside. So as long as you know how to frame whatever you're asking and putting those parameters around it, it can be really good. But again, it's all based on your use case.
And we have a question from Claude Lopez Waterman
Hey,
from
Todd.
Asheville, North Carolina. How expensive is Fable?
Zeros zeros expensive. Again, it the so all with all the models, they have a level of what's the best word for it, is, if you want to say like the quality of the model. So Haiku is on the lower end. It's not going to use as many tokens. So typically, if I have things like it's just a quick answer, write this script or what, something that I'm not really, I don't need as many details, I'll use that model because I know I'm not going to use a lot of tokens. So if you go from Haiku all the way up, then that's where the model becomes more expensive. So you do not necessarily have to use Fable. It is just there at your disposal if you choose to. So upwards, once you've used your limit and your credits, whatever it is that you are working on, that you can determine how expensive that gets. Because if you need to use it, then you need to use it, and you are looking at how long you use it for those, for how much that will cost. So I've heard thousands, I've heard more than that.
Wow. Okay. So we have a question from Ken Jordan from Wexford, Ireland.
Hey, Ken.
Have you compared Kimi K3 against Claude Fable purely on price to performance? Curious whether Fable justifies its cost for everyday use or if K3 gets you 90% of the way for less.
I personally have not tested it yet, but in the communities that I'm in, a lot of people are Team Kimmy. So I that's something that's on my list. It's just not a current priority just yet. And because of how we do use the various models, that we because and because we were very strategic in our Fable use, like we're really good right now and don't necessarily need that brain power. So I would be curious, Ken, if you have tried it out yet and what your thoughts are.
And Ken, feel free to give us a comment
Yes,
on
please.
an answer to that question. We would appreciate it. So,
And sorry, Tony, if I
go
can
ahead.
add too, What even with that question from Ken is there's always going to be a shiny new tool because this is like the race to the top or the bottom depending who you speak to. And so it is the competition for compute power. It's the competition because um last week, no, the week before, so this past week was the 19th. Well, the week before, Anthropic had announced like that was the credits were going to be over. I was stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, still trying to get things through with Fable. But then that I think it was earlier that day, they announced that they were extending it to the 19th. They had done a number of extensions. And if you look at the business side of it, well, ChatGPT just pulled out their model. So they're vying for attention. So we're going to continue to see this back and forth between the LLMs, the companies that are building them. So there's always going to be a shiny tool. So as much as we're here talking about it, you also want to be mindful. I always fundamentally come back to use case, like your personal use case, whether it's you, your business, the organization you work for or manage, and then your workflows, like what makes the most sense for you, because you can easily get caught up. And not to say those things aren't exciting, because I always talk about them and promote and tell people what you can do, but you also want to be mindful because you can get caught up with that. But then where does that leave you from either a financial perspective, or where does that leave you with just your productivity and your output?
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to ask Liberty, we're going to ask you to give us a demo. But while we're asking for you to do that, I'm going to reach out again to those who are watching. Please ask your questions. This is a great opportunity to speak with an AI architect who knows what she's doing. And we're going to talk about some of the things that she has shared in other parts of the world as far as AI is concerned. So we're going to ask that you please share your questions. Ask them right now. Put them
Yeah.
in the chat or on the QR code.
And what has been even coming up to this point and getting into chance to speak with the conversations with Tony Mobley community has also been what's ending out the previous quarter, because as I shared with you workflows and getting your ideas out into the world, we got a chance to go to Cannes, the Cannes International Festival of Creativity. So for those who are in the marketing world, advertising world, this is some people call it like the Met Gala of being out there in Cannes, France. And my daughter, we went last year, and that we went with our group, Women in AI Futures. We held a villa. We brought a delegation with us and had a phenomenal time. And my daughter said last year, she's like, well, I want to go next time. And life happening, and we get to the end of May, beginning of June, and she's like, okay, mommy, I want to go with you. And I said, well, if you want to go, you've got to, like when your parents say, you have McDonald's money, you have canned money, young lady, it costs money to go to Cannes. And so I said, well, we're gonna have to come up with the funds for that for you to go. And we did a fun activation to make that happen. And we
Oh,
used
wow.
AI to do that.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Now, it wasn't Claude. Claude was in the mix, and this goes back to your workflow. And there might be some tools like I'm a big Notebook LM user, Perplexity and Notebook LM for research, and ChatGPT for some strategy, Claude for so just having your different elements. And so we decided to come up with a T-shirt, like the quickest thing. Can was in a matter of weeks. What's the quickest thing that we could do? And so she used ChatGPT to come up with a logo design. June is also Caribbean Heritage Month, so Jamaican background. So we created this logo, put the t-shirts out there, and this is also something just when it comes to business overall, you'll have an idea. And what's really important when you get your ideas out there, not just having them live in your head, because I always say it's theory until you make it a reality. So we created these
Right.
shirts, and then some of my friends and some of the folks in the community is like they thought it was great, but they didn't feel like they could represent it, like they would be infringing on Jamaican culture. So I was like, oh shoot. But we have a product that we're trying to get out there. So we designed another t-shirt, which is shooting your shot all year long. And again, with some help with AI. So for the design, for just the overall strategy of like, we put out marketing material and did some storytelling. So being able to intersperse that. And then we made roughly $1,000 in 10
Oh, wow.
days. Yep, to be able
Okay.
to get her to go.
Fantastic. All right, we're gonna Ken has responded, but we're
Okay.
gonna wait until after the demo to bring in his comment.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So let me back out before you show this before the screen before the screen comes up there. Um but now you can go ahead and put that in. So Claude, a lot of times when people are when people are using and when I say people, there's this adoption curve. So you've got your first 3 to 5%. They're your Ken Jordans. They're your top percent of like the office hours community, that they are on it. They're your early adopters, and then you have those that are still trying to figure out where and how. And so a lot of people are still using just the chatbot, and that works. But if you really want to integrate Claude, tools like Claude, Anthropic's Claude into your world, this is where I say, are you using projects? And so what we've done here is we've set up, and projects are really, think of it as your digital workspace inside of Claude. So here we've got a conversations with Tony Mobley folder. So this is our project folder right here, and you just go ahead and click create a new folder. And the beautiful thing is now within this project folder, we've created a brain, and there's a skill. So anything related to conversations with Tony Mobley can live here.
Okay.
Again, yeah, so can live here. And thinking about it, that this show was birthed out of questions, community, and really ultimately people. So what I've done here is we've got an interview prep skill, because if we think about what are some of the challenges now, even though I have this as a demo, I'll ask you, Tony, what are some of, when you think about what it takes for you to get ready for a show each week, what are the tasks that you do over and over again?
Okay, so I create a thumbnail for every show.
Okay.
I also have to, once I create the thumbnail, I will upload it and schedule it on YouTube. And uh, I also have, thanks to Ken Jordan, now the ability to, once I create the thumbnail, schedule it on YouTube, there is a mechanism that all I have to do is put in the thumbnail and the schedule, the YouTube schedule. It will generate an update to my website thanks to Ken Jordan.
That is phenomenal. So you've already have a measure of a workflow, and knowing Ken Jordan, that there's some automations, but it is basically your blueprint. Like, how do you get from point A to point B? And he's helped you do that. So without knowing the production world to a degree, one of the tasks that take time is researching your guests, like what's going on in their
Well,
world, any
that's a big part of it. Yes.
yeah. So in that, it was like, okay, well, what a skill is, for those of you who might be unfamiliar, it's basically a set of instructions that you give and you create. You can either download them from, there are a lot of repositories that have skills out there. You want to be careful because some people, there are malicious actors out there, and they can be prompt injections and just things with those skills. So make sure that you trust the source, or you can create skills. I am a big proponent of creating your skills, because as I said earlier in this show, that every team is different. There are some standards, so there are research skills all over the world, but we created a skill for the Tone Conversations with Tony Mobley show. So there, and basically when you're using a skill, knowing that you're going to be constantly like that's repetitive task that you do each week is you have your guests, you have some prep that you want to do for the guests. So what we have here is the conversations, and the way that you activate a skill is your backslash. So we have the conversations with Tony Mobley, the demo interview prep. So, and it already tells us right here, if for any reason you've loaded a skill, not sure what that skill is, it's given us a little blurb of what the skill actually does, but we're going to activate the skill here, and we're going to tell it that, hey, we're getting ready to interview Ken Jordan. And before finishing that part of like prompting for that element, going back to just the overall workspace that we have here, well, you want to give your project some memory. The difference between just using the overall chat where you will just prompt, that is you providing it information and it's kind of like one and done. It's just taking action. But when you have a skill and you have your project folder, well, now you've got the books on the shelf, let's say. So here I've uploaded some past transcripts from conversations with Tony Mobley. I could do custom instructions. Let me see. Let me pull that out actually. And your custom instructions is just basically you telling this project, this is the kind of work that will take place here. And we've put it here. Let me delete that part, but we're telling it what the show is. We are telling it the tone, the style. So if you were in the chat, you would have to tell Claude what you want it to do each and every time. We don't have to do that here. We've already put that language, your tone, all of that. We've got that in our custom instruction, or the custom instruction, the instructions for this project. So it's ready to go. So now we're invoking the skill because we're telling it we're getting ready for conversation prep.
Liberty,
So yeah.
Liberty, I have a couple of questions.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
this is absolutely amazing.
Okay.
However, is this something that possibly somebody like me would be able to do?
1,000%, especially after us doing this demo on conversations with Tony Mobley. You can go back
Okay.
to look at it. So essentially what we're doing even in this demo, in this conversation, is again customizing how you would use this, how Ken or Mickey or anyone else, Laura in the community would use Claude may be different. You already said that, I believe you said you mentioned Canva, you have templates, so you don't necessarily need to do that, but Claude has some connectors and plugins that will be able to help someone who does need Canva and does need that graphical. It also has Claude Design. So there are elements there. In this particular case, I'm basically giving you the framework for any other project that you want to do moving forward, whether it be for conversations with Tony Mobley, whether it be for the ministry. Like after this, you could create a project folder specifically for the ministry. You can upload past transcripts, sermons notes. So you're basically teaching the LLM, you're teaching Claude how you do things, and or that this project, so this folder, and you can only upload so much, but this folder here allows you to create the memory so that Claude is pulling from that. So you'll see in a moment, I'm going to tell Claude, pull the transcripts from the project folder. And the other aspect of having the project folder, it's not competing with anything else in Claude. So I have my I have all my
Okay.
recent work here hidden, but let's say for example there was a can and we had our can project. Well, it's not going to bleed and blur lines. Everything, Claude is only going to pay attention to what is in this folder.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So We're gonna go in here. I'm getting ready to interview, I being you. I'm getting ready to
Okay.
interview Ken Jordan, and I did this via voice to text. Help me to prepare for this interview. Feel free to share any updates on what he's working on and provide a full outline. Check the project files for Ken's latest information. So we're gonna go ahead and let that run. And you'll see here, this is by invoking the skill, it's like we've got our assistant, our producer per se, our assistant producer, this interview prep agent, and you can see here it's telling us what's happening right now. And it's
Okay.
almost like there's this checklist taking place as it's working. So it's checking the project files, it is mounting things, so it's working. So typically I will let this run, and I've got other windows going on and happening. But we you can feel free to ask any other questions while it is thinking here. um
Now, is this the regular Claude or is this Fable Claude?
So great question. This is actually Claude Desktop. So I'm using the desktop infrastructure for it. And if we will, I'll show you shortly where it is. It's just you're just changing models, and I'll click on that and I'll show you. I will not open Fable for this, but I will show you that it's just the flick of a switch basically to say, okay, we're turning the dial. Right now it is on Opus 4.8, and that is the level right under Fable. So
Okay.
Fable isn't necessarily a it's not necessarily infrastructure. Think of it as another language. So right
Okay.
now, it's an opus, which is French, and we could turn it to German, which is Fable, and we could change that so it will work in that language.
Okay. That's fantastic. Wow. And this, if you have the $20 pro plan, this is something that anybody could do.
That is correct. The paid with the paid plan that you have, and again, I'm inside of the desktop version. You can use the regular window. There are just some differences in that, but with one of the bonuses with the desktop version, and I'm in cowork, is it's also able to pull the files like a dedicated area on my machine, so it's able to interact with it locally.
That's fantastic.
And if we go back to this, the screen for a moment, it'll show you that it has over here, again, where this is us using an agent. So this skill is invoking the agent to work on our behalf. So it's already reviewed the files on Ken. It's like a checklist. It's now doing some research on Ken. It's telling us exactly what it's doing here. And now it's looking at Ken's positioning. It has everything it needs. It's now writing the prep sheet for the interview. And now what you see here too, Tony, is it's just also telling us like how long it's taking, the character files, etc. Because that's another impact on your token, is just like how much data and how you're pulling it together. So here we are. We've got Ken's prep.
Oh,
And
wow.
so this is it, preparing for the today's episode. It has now pulled some of the past episodes that we did, and now it's telling us. So if at any point in time, Tony, that you were potentially short on time and didn't get a chance to pull things together, you could easily grab some things from the web, or literally say, I don't have this information, telling it to find information for you. Because if you know, like, it did some research on Ken, it's sharing some connections on like some things that he said. Because you know what makes a really good interview is the intimacy that happens, like when those light bulb moments. So it's like, oh, there were some moments that in the work, and this has pulled some things from She Learns AI. So it's there's some tweaking we can do on the back end, and I can actually go through that. But it's now pulling some connectivity, so when this interview takes place, it's like these moments, it's helping you with some opening questions. Now you're a veteran,
Wow.
you don't necessarily need that, but it's providing you with something that you are not starting from, a, as they say, a blank slate. This is you now. Okay, you've got some opening questions. You can ask some things about Hasmuk. I can ask about this website from, it's like just different things that maybe you might not have remembered from a past interview, and then helping you with some follow-up questions, and then giving you a close. Now, mind you, it's giving those things because when we built this skill, we said this is the framework, this is what we're looking for, giving us these elements. So say, and I'm going to put you on the spot for a second, Tony, or maybe we can even crowdsource from those who are watching. What else would you like to see in your interview prep? Is there something that would help you take a load off mentally? Because part of that workflow is helping to relieve decision fatigue. There may not be, but I'm asking so we can make an update to
Well,
the skill.
it if there's anything that I right now, what I'm thinking about is that part of I think what makes conversation with Tony Mobley, I'm going to say special, is that not only do we deal with the technology component of an individual, but we do want to talk a little bit about the personal, the things that are important to them and what inspired them. So if I don't know if there's a way to add that to the the skill set.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so I some people use Whisper Flow. One when you are using, I'm using Fluid. This is open source. Oh, and I activated it. So give me 1 second because it's already transcribing my voice on the screen. So when we can put this up on screen so that we can see us going ahead. And as I told you before, Tony, if you look here at the bottom, so this it gives us all of the options. As I mentioned to you, like haiku, typically for quick things that are not complicated. I'll be on that model right now. We're on 4.8. And you also have the option to, well, what level of output do you want? So there's so many ways you can vary your response and the effort. Are you looking for intern effort? Are you looking for strategic advisor effort? And you can
Wow.
make those changes. So I'm going to go in here and say, we'd like to update this skill. One of the things that makes conversations with Tony Mobley as dynamic and engaging as it is are the personal questions. Let's include 3 questions that can be asked of Ken and future guests that will tap into the human experience.
Wow.
All right. So, and I'll put, I'd like to update this skill. So we're going to go in there and let's say, ask me any additional questions if necessary to improve this skill.
Wow.
That's always something I like to do because, again, we have this technology, this tool helping us to be more efficient. I am always, tell me my blind spots. What am I missing? What should I think deeper? And you've you'll probably hear people say that again after a period of time the LLMs they're just like they just want to compliment you. So I will intentionally say do not agree with me, debate me on this so that I can get another perspective. So I'm going to go ahead, let that run, and let's see, why did it say, oh, it's attempting, there we go. So and I potentially will see, so yeah, and the thing is you just also don't know time wise, so you always want to budget your time accordingly for when you're working
So
on it.
what we're gonna do is that we
Yes.
have a few more questions.
Oh
We're
yeah, let's
gonna
go to the questions.
let's end with the results if it's available. So Ken's comment to your response was, yes, my K3 versus Fable test has shown that K3 is a match on coding and 95% there on creative design and UI UX task.
Okay.
And then the next question is from Claude Lopez Waterman. With all that you speak about AI, is there any really hard or harsh pushback, especially in Europe?
Oh, definitely. So there is the Europe, I look at them really as the continent or the leaders when it comes to governance and responsible AI, how it's used, ensuring that if you notice whenever there's new products coming out, they typically come out in the Western world first because the regulations are just a little bit more lax on this side. Now, I have seen some policies that are going through, or I should say, that are in development to ensure that we are looking at things like in our advertising and making sure there are disclaimers in use. And so we're slowly but surely seeing those things come up. But I definitely look to Europe for those things and the ways that we should be thinking about it to ensure that we are creating a safe environment.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ken Jordan is back. I priced my actual Fable 5 workload API rates and it would have cost 12,000.3K. That's about 61 months of a single $200 a month max at a $20 plan. For heavy Fable usage, the flat rate is 20, a max rate of 20x plan is no brainer. The per token math doesn't come close.
I had a feeling that he was gonna when he asked that. I had a feeling Ken was going down that path. Thank you for that, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. And Liberty, I can confirm that your Claude skills did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ken.
uh, and let's see. How do you help young people navigate this new AI world and a chosen media update for us?
Yeah, so one of the ways, like I find because primarily we work with adults, unless there are, earlier this year, we did some programming with college students, college and high school students, and there, my focus is typically critical thinking. And because they, for the most part, are digital natives, they were born with either tablets or devices in their hands. When, perfect example, when speaking with my daughter will ask me a question, I might be, just give me a moment. Don't worry, I'll ask chat gpt, like, so that is just commonplace. So I make sure that in conversation, just, okay, wait, hold on 1 second, so how would you solve this, like making sure that I'm still engaged with the young person in question, giving them the opportunity to think, still trying to do very manual things. So as much as I shared this, I also have a priority skill. So I will, and we probably, I'll have to come back and show that one, but I will like do a voice note and get all my thoughts out of my head and then use that skill to do the checklist. But as much as I will do that for speed, I still very much make sure that I'm in touch with like just paper and writing things down. So that's the same thing we'll do activity wise. We are looking at some additional programming with students because I think it is important to teach them now how to use this safely, but then also how to, from an ethical perspective, using it at school. Again, I have so many daughter stories, but she mentioned that one of her friends read a paper that she did last year, and they thought it was AI because it was written so well. So, the lines for them are blurred. So it's important for us as leaders, community leaders, educators to ensure that we help them. They don't have the encyclopedias and things like that that we had. So, where possible, to make sure that we're helping them with how they think. Your mind is going to be your mind. Curiosity and your ability to execute are going to be invaluable now and in the coming years.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, Please share places you have been sharing, showing how people can upgrade their AI use.
Yes, so there are number of economic development agencies that have, whether it be their programs for their small businesses and their entrepreneurs. So we'll come in and we will do workshops around, again, from a how to use this for our marketing, how to do this for business operations. So there have been startups that we will help them use, as when you look at having these tools that 10 years ago, like 10 years ago, when we were trying to fundraise and put programming together, you had to do it the manual way. So there's this level playing field that has been taking place. So we want to ensure that the people who are in need of the resources that can help them to elevate, help them with their fundraising, help them with their pitch decks, that they understand how to use this efficiently. Now, to the question that I believe it was Talik asked earlier, looking at the EU, but just overall, now that we have these tools, and now that for $20 a month, that someone can quickly put content out there or come up with business ideas, that also means that a lot of things look the same or sound the same, or as they
Mm,
say, AI slop.
yeah,
And that's because people are not now adding their voice and their personality. Like, even though we put this together, so now there's a conversations with Tony Mobley skill, it's still important for you to go in and tweak it. This was just supposed to be a stepping stone to say, here's your rough draft. Now go and add your genius, because there's only one Tony Mobley in the world. So those are just some of the ways that we'll come in. We'll show strategy. We'll show how to use the tools. But more than the tools, the workflow is the product, because now that efficiency is going to help you to be able to potentially serve your customers better. I know that I have peers that are in the design space, and or even developer friends, and it's like it helps them with their first batch of code, or even folks in the community, it'll help with your first,
it can
potentially your
help with the
first sprint,
infrastructure.
right? Help there, and then now you can spend more time and energy into polishing it, refining it, and those things. Now that's where your competitive edge is.
Okay. And I'm thinking about last week when DTM was on with us and he was talking about the sandwich method. So that really sort of speaks to the same thing that you're sharing with us right now. And we're down to the end. Um, do we have time to see where we are?
I will say that they will have to comment and say that they want to see. We'll go back. We'll do some social media engagement, that they will, if they want to see the final skill, the final output. We'll come back in the comments, just type skill, and we'll show you what the skill looks like.
Okay. All right. So, what should all parents know about AI?
Parents should know that they shouldn't be afraid of it, that they should embrace it. I like to call it optimistic pessimism. So, with a fine tooth comb, like, it's here. It's not going anywhere. It's not like in the next couple of years we won't have AI. That's just not happening. We've already crossed that shift, and that it is still our responsibility as a parent to ensure that we guide our children there. There's a reason that we I could have easily just went and asked people, "Hey, we're trying to get to Cannes, like help us get to Cannes." But I wanted to use that as an opportunity, as an experience for my daughter to see, first of all, we're going to put in the work. We're going to take an idea that we have, your ideas you want to go to Cannes. And remember what we just said, the tools are there. So like anyone can come up with an idea. You said, how addictive is Fable? It's extremely addictive because you can just keep asking questions, you can keep doing things. But what does it now mean to bring that to market? That's a completely different thing, to take that idea, put some action on it, and now try to actually sell it. There's a fine line between your ideas just kind of staying in your digital notebook versus putting it out into the world, and then optimizing it. If I can share this, like, we made the decision on the 11th. We started putting out videos and telling the story of getting to Cannes, trying to get to Cannes, and having this business idea. We created a Shopify store to sell the product, and then the store got shut down. It got
Oh,
restricted
wow. Wow.
24 hours, within 24 hours of putting it up. So that's life. Life is, and this is where it comes into, like, how do we help the next generation? That's life. There's a level of fragility that's also taking place. And I know you've had these conversations on past shows, especially with educators and just talking about working with kids. Well, to show my daughter, well, we're not, just because the store got shut down, we got to pivot. We got to find something else. And we did. We then went into Canva and we used Canva. And now that was where we were doing pre-sales. And so, going back to just the question of helping the next generation, well, these are the ways that we do it. We take the tools to help us get things out quickly, or thinking deeper about things, and then going through that workflow with them.
That's fantastic. Ken has another response. What's a workflow that Fable unlocked for you that just wasn't practical before?
For me, it was the deep thinking. That's what it was. Like I shared a little bit earlier, is like one of my favorite questions is to catch the blind spots. So there was taking, and I'm also very mindful, as much as I share this, also letting our viewers be mindful of what you put into these tools, because ultimately it's going into the abyss. So whether that's redacting some names or things of that nature. But for me, it was, okay, here's the work that we've done for the past 3 years, specifically the last 2, 3 years, and there's a measure of sales, but what are we missing? Where's there a gap or a hole? And when I tell you the aha that came from that, it was magnificent. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, very much was, like I said, it's like getting the opportunity to sit down with an advisor. And because the tools, because it doesn't know, without putting our information into the LLM, it really doesn't know. It's a machine. But what the machine does really well is finding patterns and connecting dots. So
Okay.
that's where I emphasize the, okay, is there a complex idea or problem? Or, yeah, put those things, help it to be your thinking partner.
Top three paid AIs.
Oh, I like to say that I'm very simple in that area, because it is like pulling things together. So I'm always going to talk about the script, because that just helping with the content, the video creation, Claude, of course, and then Chat GPT, because they all do different things. And since a year ago being on the show, they all have so many more features that they didn't have before.
Okay. Two free AIs.
Perplexity and Notebook LM. Perplexity might step up now because they've got just the computer element to it, but like yes, those two you can do a lot. Again, it is understanding the strategy and having those frameworks to be able to really maximize it. So if you now mind you, I live in this world. So that's one thing. I don't even watch TV anymore. I am constantly in a chat group on a thread testing out things. So that's that beginning of the curve, so that early adopter. But for others, it may be a good idea to go ahead and invest. If you're a researcher, if you find yourself constantly, you're a speaker, researcher, things like Perplexity, yes, go and invest in, but in that Notebook LM, Google just did a whole upgrade. It might behoove you to go ahead and pay for some of those features while some of us have other ways to get to the same solution. But
Okay.
those two.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. What's next for you?
Yes. What's next for me is to continue on this path. I was hoping that it was going to be out by now, but I've been heads down. So if anyone thinks I've been MIA, it has been heads down authoring an AI marketing course for a global organization. So I'm super excited that I cannot say. So this is like the precursor. I was hoping to be able to officially share it with the community, but we'll just have to do like a follow up there. But excited about that. So that has taken a lot of time and energy, but it is when we are looking at the state of workforce and like you learned something new tonight to be able to help you. Well, that's what we're doing for marketers and operators. Well, me working on with this company to be able to help provide that curriculum and that subject matter expertise. So excited about that part. And because of us going to Cannes, and there are a number of people who sent me DMs and they said you inspired me, and now they're launching some products and the like side businesses. So they still got their full-time job, but launching a side business to bring more income in, but to get some passion projects out. So next month we'll have a cohort, ideas to action, and we'll be walking people through setting up their infrastructure to be able, their operating system to get their idea to market with implementation. So those are like the two things that if you don't see or hear from me for a little bit, I am heads down trying to change the world one business at a time.
If people want to get in touch with you for a session on the things that you're doing or get some advice or help with the projects that they may be working on, how do they reach you?
Yeah, She Learns AI is a great one. Hello at She Learns AI, super easy to remember. Hello at She Learns AI. I share and teach a lot on LinkedIn. So that I would say those two places are some really great ones to find me. And then through conversations with Tony Mobley. Tony knows where to find me.
What were you cooking in cans that was
Oh,
on?
great question. It was so my daughter wanted baguettes, so we just made breakfast. So we had some chicken, some like just cheese baguettes with like just some toppings. It was breakfast. So she that was her thing to get a baguette and to get croissants.
Fantastic. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
Your ideas matter. And with technology like artificial intelligence, you can bring them to life. And I would love to help show you how.
Fantastic. Thank you, Liberty White, so much for being here with me today. This was a great conversation. I'm sure that there will be people from the community that will be reaching out to you, and I'm sure that skill text will be out there so that we can find out what the end results was for conversations with Tony Mobley. So,
Indeed.
and
Thank you
so
so
again,
much,
thank
Tony.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have real conversations with real people. Conversations with Tony Mobley next week will have Canva user Rabbi David Paskin. What can you do with Canva? Please feel free to donate your time, your talent, and your financial gift. We are committed to getting better, and your support makes that possible. We also love to have you join our growing community. Like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube so that we continue bringing you meaningful conversations here at Conversation with Tony Mobley. We believe that when people sit down and truly talk, something powerful happens. So consider having a conversation today. It just might change everything. Please take care wherever you are in the world, and we will see you soon. And you know, I did not get a chance to ask you about how Claude could be used in a faith community. We'll have to save that for another time. God bless you. Take care.